You want a peaceful life? Then move to my lakefront neighborhood. Otherwise, you'll be living in hell. That's the kind of threat you don't forget, especially when it comes from the other side of a white picket fence on a Tuesday morning, before you've even finished your coffee. I wish I could say I laughed it off, but the woman was dead serious, dead being the operative word in this story. The real punchline? 5 minutes later, she called 911, claiming I was a stranger harassing residents, while I was standing right in front of the house I just bought, paid in full, with my name still fresh on the paperwork. But here's the thing about me: I am not the neighbor who gets rattled by threats, and I definitely don't play by the unwritten rules of the HOA Queen Bee. Instead of losing my cool, I simply pulled out my wallet and let her see the badge. The change in her face was instant, and let me tell you, arrogance can disappear faster than you'd think about 1.5 seconds flat. Let me back up a sec. Moving to this lakefront cottage was supposed to be my reward for 15 years working homicide in the city. I'd seen enough crime scenes, enough broken people, enough nights with no sleep to last 2 lifetimes. The place was perfecta, little docks stretching into the glassy water. No noisy neighbors, no sirens, no HOA. Or so I thought. What nobody mentioned was that 2 houses down lived Vivian Blackwood, the unofficial queen of the block, but everyone called her Karen. You know the type, every neighborhood's got one, but you pray it isn't yours. First time I met Vivian, she showed up on my porch in high heels, crisp white blazer, leather portfolio under one arm, scanning my place like she was running a government inspection. "You must be the new neighbor," she smiled, but it was the kind of smile you give before handing someone a ticket. Vivian Blackwood, president of Lakefront Estates, HOA. "Welcome." Before I could even fake a grin, she was rattling off the rules. Flower types, mailbox heights, garbage can placement. I swear, it felt like basic training for a suburban cult. And I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee. I told her straight up, I bought the house because it wasn't under any HOA. Her smile twitched, but she didn't miss a beat, just whipped out a measuring tape and started mumbling about community standards while checking my grass. Not gonna lie, it was kind of impressive, the commitment to pettiness, you know? But then I noticed her phone wallpaper a photo of a man, kind eyes, graying at the temples. "That's my late husband, Henry," she said, almost too casual. "Drowned out on Crystal Lake 2 years back." Something about the way she said it, well, when you've worked homicide as long as I have, you learn to smell a lie through fresh paint. Then out of nowhere, she asks if I know anything about the Blackwood case. I shake my head, and she laughs it off, just a tragic accident. Nothing suspicious, thank God. Yeah, right? Anytime someone insists there's nothing to see, it's time to start looking. Vivian left me with a glossy HOA brochure and a warning about community cooperation. The whole thing felt less like a welcome and more like a shakedown. Next morning, she showed up again, a different vibe this time. Gone was the fake smile, replaced by a stare cold enough to frost glass. "Mr. Harper," she snapped, "since you won't cooperate, you'll face consequences." And before I could blink, she dialed 911, voice trembling as she claimed there was a dangerous man harassing the neighborhood. The Oscar goes to Vivian Blackwood, right? Except when Officer Jenny Santos pulled up, I handed her my badge, and suddenly the entire script flipped. Vivian, now wide-eyed and stuttering, tried to play the concerned neighbor. Officer Santos, though, was sharper than most. She told me privately this wasn't Vivian's first stranger danger call. 12 calls in 6 months, all about people who might know too much about the neighborhood. A pattern emerges. At that point, I knew Vivian wasn't just an overzealous neighbor, she was hiding something. I started poking around, the way old detectives do when instinct takes over. The official story on Henry Blackwood was that he drowned fishing, alone, late summer. No witnesses, no photos, death certificate signed by Dr. Patricia Hoffman, Vivian's old friend from her nursing days. That alone felt off. But it was a tip from a plumber, Tank Rodriguez, that cracked things open. He'd been fixing pipes at the Blackwood house the night before Henry's accident and heard a screaming match so bad he almost called the cops. She was yelling she wouldn't be left with nothing, and he was shouting about not being able to live with lies anymore, Tank told me. And then, The kicker tank had a video from a security install showing a man being pushed off the dock. The guy didn't drown. He swam off into the trees. I'll let you imagine what ran through my head. Fake death? Attempted murder gone wrong? Either way, Vivian had reason to want Henry gone in a cop in her pocket for an alibi. Suddenly, all those HOA rules and community emails weren't about order. They were about control. So I dug deeper, hacked into a smart speaker Vivian had installed on my porch. Yes, she actually tried to spy on me, and hit pay dirt. A call between Vivian and Dr. Hoffman, whispering about the detective asking too many questions, about making it look convincing, and Henry not being able to hide forever. That was it. I tracked Henry down to a cabin Vivian owned up the lake, and when I found him alive but broken, handed me a box of files, medical records, audio tapes, a full dossier. He'd been poisoned slowly for months, barely escaped with his life, and knew Vivian had done this befarito to other husbands in 2 different states. Time for the final act. I staged a big neighborhood barbecue, everyone invited, especially Vivian, especially the cops. At 3 p.m., with half the community on my lawn, I brought out Henry. The look on Vivian's face was priceless. She went from HOA queen to ghost in a heartbeat. Then she started babbling, first denial, then rambling confessions about how she'd faked Henry's death, staged insurance frauds, even admitted to perfecting the accident technique on other husbands. 30 witnesses. 2 detectives. Game over. Officer Santos cuffed her while Vivian was still barking about my non-compliant grass height. Even getting put into a squad car, she yelled, "Someone needs to address these property violations." That's how the mighty fall in suburbia. After the trial, she tried to spin the whole thing as her being the victim, but the evidence was airtight. Vivian got life without parole. I still get letters from her, by the way. She's trying to organize an HOA in prison, filing complaints about lawn care in the yard. You can't make this stuff up. You know, folks like Vivian count on everyone playing nice, staying quiet. But sometimes, the guy who moves in next door isn't just a neighbor. Sometimes, he's the reason the truth comes out. So, if you ever wonder whether you should stand up or stay silent, think about whose story you want to help write. Drop your thoughts below. Does justice mean keeping the peace or exposing the rot, even if it ruins the view?